Now, there's an interesting question. Stretching alertness. You mean perhaps am I overdoing my expectation of you listening in an alert manner? Well, yes. Think about it. Maybe a man, I've just made up a joke. Well, it'll be a joke amongst a few of us. A man rushes into the doctor's office and says, help me. You've got to help me. I can't quit staying alert. I just made up a senior version, advanced version. A man rushes into the doctor's office or somebody's office and says, help, help, I'm over-alerting. And a viewer confidently patted his stomach. Do you remember that one? And said to himself, thank God that doesn't apply to me. For any, well, first off, for civilization, everything from the upper level of man's nervous system, for it to survive, it must be taken seriously. There were several thrown in tonight that I didn't pull out, such as an imaginary beast cannot hurt you unless you believe in them. And don't worry about the internal ironies and contradictions of that. There are none. It's just your imagination. Yeah. For civilization, for the whole thing to exist, for this city, not the city of God, but for this imaginary city of civilization itself, that is everything from the level of consciousness up, from the cortical intellect up in the human nervous system, that son of a bitch is floating. And don't believe it's floating on something like the great will of God. It's floating on nothing. Well, all right, something. The collective seriousness of humanity. That you have got to take it seriously. Within that structure, then, we have everything. It's open game after that. Everything is already self-explained, but rather than enumerate any of the others of the arts and everything else, let's go into the mystical systems, the practices, the attempted spiritual rites and symbols and rituals that humans attempt to expand their understanding, to live more here, not physically, but here. Do you understand that within that, since the whole structure is floating on imagination, and it must be taken seriously, which is another, those of you that are hard up for reading material, if you want to go back and check the Emperor's Clothing story again, that's yet the greater exposition of what the story is about. You can't go around to civilization. The kid wasn't a hero. You can't go around and go, what's everybody, hemming and hawing and saying, oh, what beautiful clothes the king's got on. He's butt naked. I went, shh, shh. When you read that back in high school, that was supposed to be the moral, like, ha, ha, that's true. Some of our leaders, strike that, sir. Okay, all of our leaders. Come on, you do better than that. Our institutions, keep going. Civilization is naked. What kind of deal is it? And you think that had a great moral precept to it. I read the story, and everybody was saying, they told the king, somebody did, that this was invisible. The clothes was made out of such fine gold, if I remember correctly, that it was invisible to mundane eyes, to the fiefs, the clods, the serfs, the hoi polloi. And sure enough, nobody wanted to be mundane and routine, so here he comes strolling down the street naked, and everybody, being fashionable and trendy and sophisticated and cosmopolitan in their approach, sent back their head instead of the fan. That's another story. They all stood there as the king walked by naked, and they all went, oh, look, and they punched each other and say, oh, look at the way the collar's turned up, and look at the way they're wearing robes a little off the shoulder, and they'll go, ooh, ooh, and some little kid went, what the hell are you talking about? He's naked. Shh, shh. See, ordinary people think that is some great, that's almost the basis of religion, that some little innocent child who through his naive innocence can see reality, pointed out, the guy's naked. Civilization's naked. But notice that doesn't upset it any more than those kind of stories make the world of institutional power, as represented by kings, collapse. It's an old story, and we still got kings. You must take the city floating there. The city, as I use it, as being physical representation, symbol of civilization, of physical manifestation of the human intellect. It's floating there, and it's only our imagination that keeps it going, in the same way that I tried to point out to you, contrary to what would appear to be just absolutely hardwired, hard-nosed reality. Laws don't keep people in check. Threats of prison do not keep people in check. It's their imagination. It's their assumed serious attitude toward nakedness walking by, and everybody going, ooh, ooh. Doesn't it look good on him, just the way the light hits the material when he moves? He's naked. Everybody knows it. If you don't play along with it, that's when you're dangerous. That's when they'll lock you up. It's not laws. It's the people that just won't take it seriously. They do not make decent dinner companions. Well, they're prone to shoot you and take your food away. Within the structure, everything must be taken seriously. I mean, if the whole thing must be taken seriously, then it stands to reason that anything therein is subject to the same sort of necessary support through a man's imagination about, ooh, that's serious. Then you're into the areas that most people, or many people that'd be interested in such as this, would take to be the extreme area of seriousness, their kind of religious practice, their belief in some mystical tradition, some system. They have got to take it seriously. You have got to take, if you're a stamp collector, and it's the heart of your life. I mean, it's your most fun in life. You have got to take it seriously. You know, you don't have to go around pouting and all that, but it is serious to you. You take care of your stamp book, you take care of the stamps, you keep track about which new ones are coming out, you check back which ones you don't have. You probably have friends, you make acquaintances, you write to other people. It's your hobby in life, it's your avocation. You're supposed to take it seriously. You could not pursue it. It'd be too easy to make a joke about. You got what? You think you got $80,000 in stamps laying here in your apartment, and you driving a 47 Pinto? You know, look how easy it is. You can make fun of that. But for an ordinary person to get by in life, they know they're naked intellectually. They know that they're the king with no clothes on. They know that stamp collecting, you know, it's a big old fat guy strolling down the street like he's, you know, ain't I, you know, Mr. Big, and he knows he's naked and ugly and got warts and acne and, you know, rice on his ass, but he says, I'm king. To him, he says to his nervous system and vice versa, hey, I'm king. You got to take that seriously or what? You end up on a nut farm, which some people say is worse than prison. You got your choice, but anyway, you got to take that seriously or you'll come apart. So, stepping slightly from there to mystical practices of all sorts, that, above all, you would have to say, if you'd followed all this and realized what I was getting at, and if you say, well, you're right, if you got to take, I understand what you're saying, I'm speaking for somebody else, that if you've got to take something as innocuous, as potentially spiritually or intellectually uplifting, let us say as philatalism or whatever the hell it is. God, what a word. It always sounds like something you'd pay some girl off Times Square with a mask on to do to you for $50. Do you do philately here? Or? Well, plus, do you have a woman named Gertrude to do it to me? Well, more German humor, I guess. If I'm speaking now for somebody else, for an ordinary person, I would say, well, I hear what you mean, that to just pursue any hobby, sports, whatever, you got to take it seriously, and in a way, you're right, it's not do or die. I mean, if a man's stamp collection got stolen, he's not going to die over it. But I understand you got to pretend, or you got to go along with it seriously. But they would want to say, it's another matter where you at least up the stakes when you start talking about a man's spiritual life, intellectual life, in the full sense of mystical, without any actual religious connotations, in the sense of doing something that would expand one's own consciousness, one's own understanding of life. That is indeed got to be serious. I mean, it's not just something to fake. Yes, it is. You got to fake it if you're pursuing a specific one. Now back to that great eternal question that I finally arose tonight. Is there any connection between that and comedians wanting to be taken seriously. Yes. Good guess. Good guess. There is. There indeed is. So what if you started off and you were not serious? You were seriously driven. You had a serious hunger for something. You had a serious itch that you could not scratch, a serious hunger that you evidently could not feed, or that ordinary people, ordinary ideas could not feed for you, and that you heard the notions of mystical quest, mystical quest, and you thought, yes, that's it.